Hello there, welcome back to Andy Audible. Today I'll be doing a review on an IEM from MUSEHIFI, which is MUSEHIFI Power. This is a magnetic planar IEM. Let's check it out.
Now let's have a look at what's inside the build, the design, and the package itself. MUSEHIFI Power comes in a black box. Pretty simple. This is pretty much a trademark of MUSEHIFI. Okay, and here we have the IEM itself, obviously, and this high purity SPC cable terminated in 3.5 mm stereo. I am not sure if an option for 4.4 or 2.5 mm is provided, but this is what I have now. And of course, it has this nice carrying case, which you would normally see in most IEM nowadays, and also a cleaning brush here. And you can see here, they also include two sets of tips offering 4 different types. To be frank, I have no idea on what are the signature of these tips, because anybody who knows me that I always prefer foam tips, and MUSEHIFI Power does not come with foam tips, unfortunately. So I was forced to use my own, and in this case, I took it from my C Audio Bravery. Let's have a look at the build itself. Okay, first thing first, the build. This thing is fat. It is big, yeah. I would not hesitate to say that among the many IEM that I have seen, tested so far, this is probably the biggest one, but not necessarily the heaviest. The heaviest is still Moondrop Stellaris. And the design is actually quite elegant despite the size, because this is supposedly to be a higher end model from MUSEHIFI. Okay, and due to the ergonomic and the design of this IEM, I will say this upfront. This will not be suitable for anybody with small ears, because this thing will protrude. And I will show later, when worn, how does it look like. However, despite this big, humongous casing size, surprisingly, it does not feel any kind of, let's say, offensive to my ear. I do not feel any kind of discomfort. I was able to wear this IEM for exactly like even 5 hours non-stop, and that's quite surprising, because I think it has a lot to do with this cavity section here, which sits properly on the ear concha. It's just that it's big, or perhaps my ear cavity is big enough, even though I hate to admit it. But yeah, this is how it looked like. And what's inside? This is a magnetic planar. Okay, and from what been described by MUSEHIFI, this is a 14.5 mm flat diaphragm magnetic planar. Okay, if it makes any sense to you. So it is essentially a magnetic planar, and surprisingly, it has a high rating for sensitivity, which is at 106 dB with the impedance of 32 ohm. All right, but how does that translate into sound? Will it be easily driven? Let's find out later. Okay, now let's talk about the sound itself. How does this MUSEHIFI Power sounds like? Okay, as I said earlier, how does it look like here? This is how it looks like. So I guess my ears is big enough because it can sit properly here. Okay, see that? Okay, the sound itself, let me just put it this way. Simple, straightforward. This thing will not sound good if not powered properly. Yes, let me just repeat that. Most hi-fi power need power, lots of power. And I'm talking about the traditional magnetic planar kind of demand. You see, if we were to quickly recap the current trend right now, especially with the start of 7 Hz timeless, right? Magnetic planar has been quite efficient. I would regard that 7 Hz timeless as being the first one that is surprisingly very efficient. You can actually like run it even with one VRMS of dongle or DAC amp, and it already sounds very nice. Of course, it will scale better with more power. That is the signature of magnetic planar. However, magnetic planar before 7 Hz timeless they behave slightly different. Like, for example, I think those in the older days or the earlier days would remember Thin Hi-Fi P1 and even harder to drive Thin Hi-Fi P2, right? Those magnetic planars are really crazy, right? In fact, some even told me that in order to drive those magnetic planar, you need a nuclear reactor. And I joke you not, it does require power, otherwise it sounds terrible. And for the first time since then, I am hearing the same thing. This is something which is familiar to me, that territory of requiring power to sound good. For example, if I run it on my directly from my phone, which is a Sony Xperia, by the way, directly, it does not sound good at all, to a point that I would say, like, why is this sound like so boxy and so confined and so like cramped, congested kind of feel? It's because my Sony Xperia is even less than 1 VRMS. So I started to use dongle. And then I used to change a few dongle, this and that. And of course, everybody knows that I have so many DAC amp dongles. I have found out that one particular thing, right? It started only to sound proper and in fact sounds pleasingly great, right? At the mark of 300 milliwatt per channel sort of power, right? In order for it to sound good at all. So what it means is that even this Kain RU6, which is one of my favorite, in fact, this is overall number 2 in my dongle madness ranking, it wasn't enough. All right, it was good, but I can still feel that, you know, it doesn't bloom as much as how it should be. Okay, and when I switch into something which is a lot more powerful, this way, by the way, this is like 240 milliwatt per channel. So I switched to this OVDS B1. OVDS B1 offers 410 milliwatt of power per channel. And then suddenly everything opens up. The sound beginning to sound proper to mine. No longer boxy, no longer like kind of like, you know, compressed or anything like that. And of course, obviously the best result from this, which is even higher at 775 milliwatt per channel. So the key thing is that this MUSEHIFI power, right, will not sound good at all at anything under 300 milliwatt per channel. Luckily, we also have dongle like this i5 Goba, which is crazily powerful as well. And the single-ended even has over 330 or something like that, if I recall correctly, per channel. So these three things, and of course my back here, X Duo Class A amp, will make this MUSEHIFI power sounds great as how it should be. Now that that has been clarified, let me just put it this way. The sound signature of MUSEHIFI power is something that I would consider as the blue, all right? Which simply means it is mid-centric IEM. Yes. So it does not sound, let's say, in particular boost in any area. Perhaps I would even say it's more like a mid-centric kind of IEM rather than, let's say, V or, you know, Harman or anything. Definitely not Harman, definitely not V. Okay, so if you are the type who like the blue kind of sound signature, then MUSEHIFI power is suitable for you. Okay, and in fact, again, going back to the comparison with the older, or should I say the OG Thin Hi-Fi P1, I would say that there's a lot of similarity between this and that magnetic planar IEM, because both of them are crazily hard to drive. Okay, and the sound signature is similar. Most importantly, they sound organic, and that is a huge plus in my book. I hear no indication of the timbre, the tonality, a note weight, or anything like that being metallic or digital sounding. So that is a huge plus in my book. Regardless of even, let's say, being when attached to a highly very bright kind of let's say source, something like perhaps some other dongle like Hidis S9 Pro, for example. or AIDA 9038. Those are very bright sounding dongle. If you plug this thing in there, the sound will balance out itself. And plug it into something a bit, let's say, more neutral, more balanced, right? It goes even better. So that is a huge plus as well. However, I must also describe the sort of the dynamics that that I'm hearing. You see, I would describe this as moderately paced with speed and resolution. Okay, so what it translates into most people is that it is a good combination of, not too analytical, not too musical. It is clean and coherent, but it is well balanced between this being analytical and being musical. In return, that would also translate into our ability to use it for prolonged period of time. So let me just put it this way. Analytical, outright analytical is not Muse Hi-Fi Power is all about. And outright musical is not it. It's just somewhere in between. So if that is a sort of balance that you are looking for, then it will work for you. Okay? So, and another element is that the treble extension, the dynamic range from lower frequency to upper frequency. Again, going back to the W signature just now, I would even say that because of the mid-centric kind of focus, sometimes what I'm hearing is that as if the extension on both end of the frequency are not well extended enough, or should I say it is not pronounced enough. It is audible to my ear. I can still hear a bit of micro detail, not so much on not so much on micro detail. Macro is okay, but micro detail seems a bit subdued. So which means that, for example, on the upper frequency for treble sparkle, if you use something which is like timeless 7 hertz timeless, it is quite popular for being very sparkly and be very detailed with the treble top end frequency, but not this. All right, it is a bit subdued. So in a way, it is suitable for people who are very sensitive to bright signature of treble, or should I say the keyword upper mid range to treble pinna glare. All right, this thing doesn't have pinna glare, so that is a very huge plus depending on your preference. Some treble head, of course, when they use this immediately, you say, "Oh, no, 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 this doesn't work for me. There's no treble there." Or should I say, you say, "Oh, this treble is like kind of like really meek or something like that." And also for bass head, all right, if they were to use this, they will be like kind of like have a feeling that, okay, the sub bass is kind of a bit lacking, because especially if that listener is so used to a Harman type of tuning, right? Then the lower end frequency for the sub bass would appear very mild. Okay, it is still there, but it is mild. Okay, and it's more of like a mid bass kind of a focus. So that's how I would describe it for the dynamic presentation of Muse Hi-Fi Power. And pretty much, I think I have covered everything. Okay, let me just talk about this genre, the type of music that can be played with this. Obviously, okay, because of the uniqueness, or should I say, it is not something that I would consider as a jack of all trade. Not all music will sound good with this Muse Hi-Fi Power, but it will especially be great for energetic type of music. And luckily for this I am the kind of person who listen a lot to energetic music. I listen to black metal, I listen to industrial metal, I listen to, very, very noisy kind of music. With the kind of suppression of upper frequency that this Muse Hi-Fi Power offer, it helps me a lot to enjoy those music at a much more prolonged period of time. Okay? But if this were to be used for something like slow-paced jazz or folk music or something like that, right? Or even ballad, then perhaps there will be a feeling that, oh my, this is a bit like too intimate or too warm for my taste. So it depends. If you like your jazz to be like smooth, thick, and like, very intimate kind of experience, then probably it will work for you using jazz with this. But for somebody who prefer their jazz to be like technical, complex, and with high composition and everything like that, so this IEM will not work. in that scenario. So it's not that versatile, unfortunately. I must say that it must be specific. Okay. So in another way, right, it is something which need to be understood to be worn. Okay, let me just quickly recap about this MUSEHIFI power. All right. First and foremost, the size itself. Okay. If your ears are small, right, it will not work for you. Secondly, power. Right, it needs power. Right, without power, anything less than 300 milliwatt, it will not work as well. It doesn't sound good at all. And then lastly, the kind of music that you listen to. All right, if you listen to largely slow paced music or anything under 100 BPM, it will also probably not work for you. But for anything else other than that, right, energetic music, you want something which is highly scalable, which can scale a lot. You already have a very powerful amp. This thing will handle anything you can throw at it. Okay. All right. So there you have it. Muse Hi-Fi Power. Thank you for watching.